All right, we should be on.
Sweet. Cool. Well, hello, Punchy. How you doing, buddy? This is a special exclusive show just for you because we needed to iron the kinks out, and we really appreciate you coming along to the show. What's the short version for him? Well, basically what we're going to do is we're going to get 7 people on each week. A few of them aren't here, but we're going to have Ozzy, Carissa Brock, and Kristen Frost Laserbeams as well as my headphones exit my head. And we're all going to look at some different woo each week, try and determine exactly what's stupid about the different claims that are being made and demonstrate why they're false in a serious and straightforward manner, occasionally taking the mix. So I'm going to take you around the table to let you know who's here today. Robert Leger the third doing the producing. How you doing, buddy?
I'm here and I am good. How's it going, everybody?
Absolutely good. I am rocking to go with the show. How about you?
I'm very excited. This is going to be great.
Absolutely thrilled to pieces. Right, I'll do my usual thing. Do you have anything that you would like to share from the community that you've seen recently? Any good videos, any good producers, stuff that you've got coming out, anything like that?
Dude, I'm the best creator on YouTube. Just anytime I go live, you just got to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with that. You're right. You've done a whole load of streams that I've turned up to recently. I'm not even a gamer, and I enjoy watching those. So, for anyone watching, well, Christ Puncher knows exactly who you are, so I won't do the usual interview questions today. Instead, I'm going to jump straight over to Anthony Bailey. Hello, sir. How are you doing?
Hello, hello, hello. Yeah.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah,
What you been up to recently? You got any videos coming out soon for us?
I wouldn't say soon.
You got anything in the pipeline then? You must be planning something.
Yes, I have that. I just have to get some voice dubbing, and I should have something up.
Oh, lovely. Well, sounds like you're keeping your cards pretty close to your chest. I won't press you too hard on that. And next up, we've got 1 Minute Debunk. Port Punky, hello, mate. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm really ill, but I'm hanging in there. It's all worthwhile.
I'm so glad you can make it anyway, though, man. Thank you for dragging yourself out of your sick bed just to come and talk some nonsense with us today. Actually, you've done more than that because you have produced some fine work. In the upcoming episodes, we've got some stuff that we're going to be showing. But today, you sort of dived onto the internet and in a matter of seconds have got us a cool little slideshow that we're going to go through and have a bit of fun, right? But before we do that, I wonder, have you got any videos, content, or stuff you'd like to talk about out that you want to share with our audience? Or is that just one special someone?
Well, I'm going to be on a panel show called Going Critical at some point, and I'm doing
Oh,
that
really?
just for you, Punchy.
So this...
Maybe I'll
Go
even
on.
drink some Pepsi.
Steady on. I mean, that silence is the shock of the room, man.
Punchy knows what I'm talking about.
Punchy is the Pepsi. What's the word? Yeah,
Delivery
but
man.
he's the. Oh man.
I know what
do
you
they
mean,
call it
because
when they have
Anti-Flat is
people-
sort of the same, isn't he? Anti-Flat is supposedly king of Pepsi. So if
Well,
we
no.
put the two of you in a room
no,
and you
no.
fight it out.
Punchy works for Pepsi. Without Punchy, you get no Pepsi.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. We
Yeah.
are not worthy indeed. Thank you very much for bringing us our hallowed Pepsi.
Pepsi is not worthy.
Yeah.
It's true.
I agree. That's beautiful. Right. Well, look. Have you got any stuff coming out in the near future that you would like to share with the audience?
I have my short little videos. That's it. I
Yeah,
promise
but
to
they
keep
will
making them.
be good. Excellent. Well, that's good news.
Excellent.
I guess then, look, without much further ado, let's get straight onto the task in hand because we've got some images lined up in our gallery and it's sort of a bit of a quiz for everyone involved. And I'd quite like Punchy to get involved. So if you recognise what's being talked about, you can shout out as well. 1 minute debunk, perhaps you'd like to describe what it is you were looking for.
So, in the real first episode, there's going to be really impressive images. These were ones that I've prepared in a manner of seconds, as you said. And it's just going to cover a few different subjects, which we might be looking at.
Lovely. All right, well, that's beautiful. In that case, I'm going to turn back to Mr. Robert Leger III, who's going to take control of the situation and start loading up the images for us. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Right, let's
Hey,
roll.
can we do a check with Punchy before we do and ask him what the sound is like for the background music?
Oh, yeah, sure. That's great. Punchy, can you hear us? Say something in the chat if you're watching. Now, it's going to take about 15 to 20 seconds to get all the way down the line to him and then him type something in. So I suppose I'll fill the dead air by talking inanely until I see something move. I must say, I'm looking forward to this quiz a little bit, though, because especially next week when we've got this sort of the arrangement of collages and what have you, it's going to be brilliant. I'd never thought of it before, but the idea of us having some sort of small competitive element as we're going through, someone buzzing in, say, or, oh, there you go. I think I've just seen him say hi. Well, look, in which case, let us know what the sound's coming through like. There should be music playing in the background very quietly. If it's too loud, let us know. If you can't hear it at all, let us know. Just, I suppose you could DM Robert if you want a slightly more high-speed approach, right?
Yep.
Beautiful stuff.
I think that I can't hear it on my browser, but I'm hearing you twice because I'm hearing the meet and the browser. So I'm probably not the best gauge for that. Is it? As he says, it's perfect.
Music is perfect. That's fantastic.
Yeah, excellent stuff. We weren't even sure having it would be a good idea, really.
It's supposed to be completely supplementary.
That's good.
He says it's good.
100% of the audience likes it, so we're fine.
Wow, we have
I mean,
100%
we are
approval
polling.
rating.
Right? We're polling
Robert-
some crazy numbers.
Robert, I
Yes.
should give you a little bit of instructions. There's 5 images I've prepared. The file names is kind of like the answer for what it is.
Well,
So
the way it's
don't read
loaded
out the-
to me- yeah, I can't see any of that the way it's loaded up. So no.
That's
spoilers.
awesome.
Excellent. Yeah, no,
This
nice
is
one.
more moronic than you maybe expect.
I look forward
Alright,
to it
well.
immensely.
Here comes the first image.
Go on, I'm holding back. Who wants to go? Who wants to go?
Shall we
Somebody
buzz in?
buzz in. Go
I
on.
know what the answer is.
Well, nobody want to buzz in. I'm going to
Oh,
go straight to
I'm trying to get the
OMD.
buzzer.
I'm gonna
I'm
click
getting
it.
the
I've
buzzer.
clicked the buzzer.
You've got it. 1MD, you got in there first. So, what are we looking at, sir?
Well, it's clearly proof of ancient aliens. Okay. This is Egypt. This is clearly the pyramids of Giza, and there's
Well,
airplanes
well, they got to park them somewhere, don't they?
and the Washington Monument.
Huh, that is unusual, I'll admit.
Actually,
but-
that's just an obelisk thing. It's not the Washington Monument.
okay,
This is, yeah.
He says a penis, a pyramid, and a sphinx.
Okay, there's no need to refer to me like that.
Oh, burn.
I just got that. That took a while. I'm sorry. So yeah, ancient aliens building the pyramids. Then look, we've all seen the program on history. Actually, Anthony, have you seen Ancient Aliens in person, or have you only ever seen the clips?
No, I've seen it on YouTube.
Oh yeah. So you've seen old Giorgio Tsoukalos then giving him, the classic. I'm not saying it's
Famous.
aliens, but
Yeah.
I wonder how much they pay that guy to look like such an idiot.
I don't know. I think when he goes home, he probably parts his hair really neatly and puts on a proper suit so that no one recognizes him.
Exactly.
It's like a work disguise, right? No one looks like that, really.
No, not with the hair standing up and shit. No way.
Crazy. But look,
I think-
before we get lost on track,
I
let's-
think
let's-
he is an
let's-
alien.
There you go.
He's trying his best to look human, and you're being mean to him.
Perhaps that
I'm
describes
so
that ethereal
sorry,
glow
Georgia.
he's got. It's too much fun. All right, so look, seriously though, look, when it comes to the ancient aliens building the pyramids, there are a variety of different excuses given for why that's likely. 1 minute debunk. I mean, have you got any particular favourites? Because obviously you found this image, you must know a little bit about the subject. What do you reckon?
Gosh, I think isn't it often that that they couldn't have put all the stones in a big triangle in the desert because that was very difficult.
That's
Well, this is it.
That's one of the things. Yeah.
And I think the other angle that's often used is some sort of like geometric argument because it's sort of aligned north and it's the right shape for a spaceship to land on or something or shoot energy into.
Well, this is it. There are a number of
I've seen
claims,
that
aren't there?
angle. It doesn't really make any sense because none of that has any basis.
Indeed.
But-
Yeah, I suppose they got some kind of energy funnel or something.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, quite.
I haven't done a nice big sort of deep dive on it yet, but I will one day, no doubt.
I mean, I suppose for reference, the Mythbusters did quite a good episode where they looked at a lot of the pyramid claims. Things like it being perfectly square, for example, when obviously there's about 18 inches variance total across the size of the whole thing, which is very small for such a large object. It's very high precision for the period. But again, if you were a sort of an alien race, you would think they would get that down to the millimeter and have some actual proper precision. The argument that the size of the bricks, they don't know how they got them to the top. But of course, an argument from ignorance, not knowing, is not the same as arguing that it is aliens. That's also, they seem to have come up with better and better reasons for how they understand these things to have built in the first place. Pyramid energy, every single claim's been tested where you try and make a rotten apple come back to life and all, make your razor blades get sharp again. Every single one of these things has been physically demonstrated as false, but they seem to persist because, I mean, ultimately it's a very impressive structure, isn't it? It is,
It
a
is.
massive thing. Sorry, go on.
I was agreeing.
I can tell you exactly how impressive it is. I looked it up on Google Maps and it got 4.7 from TripAdvisor.
Whoa.
Really?
7 stars. Yeah.
Whoa.
It's-
I mean, it puts it all in context, doesn't it, really?
It shocks me that a significant percentage of people went to the pyramids of Giza and were like, no, don't like it.
Yeah.
It's
Didn't
like-
give it a full-
Majestic monument to antiquity is just not up to scratch.
The most
Absolutely.
impressive structure on the planet. And they just
Yeah.
like, no, I'm good. It's hot here.
I've seen better. I mean, to be fair, they did build that in Las Vegas. I mean, look at it. For God's sake.
Wait, this is in Las Vegas? Oh.
Oh, no. I've ruined
We got-
it for him.
As an aside,
Illuminati.
we have a question from chat from Christ Puncher who asks,
Oh, yeah.
what should I order for food?
Well, now, is there a selection we can help you with, or should I just go random? Get crispy chili beef from a Chinese. How about that?
I think it's Euro night, Punchy. Get you some Euros and a nice Greek salad.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, it is. It's a good idea. Is what it is. I love
That's
Enjoy
Euros.
pineapple.
Pizza with pineapple. Now, there's a contentious issue. You'll have to give us your idea on that, Punchy, because he was
Sorry,
thinking Chinese. Oh, that's good news.
are we ready for the next image, gentlemen?
Well, unless anyone has anything they want to jump in with about the Egyptians before we go, I love the fact that they wanted to take everything with them to the afterlife, so they just basically killed it. I have my wife and my slaves and my cats, so we'll just ice all of them, wrap them up.
I'll say that the Egyptians are definitely my favorite historical culture. There's so much we've learned about them, but what we've learned most is that we know nothing about them. And
yeah.
My favorite thing about that is the level of assumption that is constantly made. Just for instance, I'm gonna point to my favorite 1-minute debunk video, where you have people out there thinking they're seeing helicopters and shit on the wall of tombs and stuff we don't know what they had, but we're pretty sure what they didn't have. And
Sure.
the uncertainty just with what we do know is enough to just keep you entertained and guessing for your whole life pretty much. You'll never get there, but the level of effort we put in as a civilization into attempting to it's been a lot to see.
Yeah, I think that's well said. Good point, well made. Sorry, go on.
A good way to highlight that is the subject of archaeology, and then within that there's a specific subject, Egyptology.
Absolutely.
It's that significant that it's a topic unto itself.
Indeed.
It's incredible.
I suppose it's one of those
all I
things
have to say on that.
highlighted it during the sort of Victorian era. It was one of those great periods of expedition. So I think because it's got so ingrained in our culture, it's very popular. It's a bit like dinosaurs. It's one of those fields that gets quite a lot of help and a lot of funding, and so it's become part of our cultural landscape almost. Right, anyone want to add anything, or should we go to the next image? Beautiful,
All right.
Let's move. The ancient Greek. Okay, poor Ponky, you tell us what you thought by this one.
Hey,
then.
I buzzed in.
Does that? Well, I'll give you a clue. There's something written in the image that should maybe, I'm going to say, hint what the solution is to this one.
There's something written within the image.
Somewhere
the
in this
word-
image is some text.
the
and
word
that is-
ancient?
Well, yeah, really, it's just ancient Greek meal. I can't really remember why I put this one in. I think it was to do with just
I think you were
weird
hungry.
diet stuff. Yeah,
I think
well.
you were hungry, and this is foreshadowing to Punchy's question. You're definitely getting Greek now, man. Euros.
ancient Euros.
See,
Ancient
I can
alien
see where you're
Euros.
going at then. So when you said ancient Greek meals, if you're referring to sort of fad diets and odd eating things, so everything from breatharians to
Yes.
I don't know, meatitarians, people who are entirely carnivorous, who will also equally suffer medically for their choices. Things like the Atkins diet, actually, that's a particular favourite for me because that was cited as being scientifically supported and something you could ask your doctor about and they would put you on. And of course, it's largely been debunked ever since. I don't suppose anyone's got any views on the Atkins diet. None of us here is really the dieting type, are they?
The Atkins diet. The lady in the commercial used to be all excited and her voice cracked. The Atkins diet.
I don't think we had that one over here. Yeah, right.
It's an inside joke between me and my friends in high school. It's funny.
Oh, really? Fair enough. Well, yeah, this is it. I mean, every once in a while, because we have such an international sort of communication network, I get these references from people, and it's like, I wish I knew what a Twinkie really is. That sort of thing.
That's one of my favorite things about being in this community, especially, is we all have like-minded interests because we're here, but so much different about us just based on the geography of everybody. I love it.
So has anyone here actually had to be on a diet? I mean, I literally never have because I'm a man made of strings. So, you can put as much food as you want in me and I don't inflate. Anyone here had to?
I had to diet when I first joined the military. I was 8 pounds too heavy for the entrance, and if I could have still gone in, but if you go in overweight, you get put on a remedial diet and basic training. And I'm a big guy. I can't be on a restricted diet like that and do all the physical stuff they were doing. So I dieted and got under the threshold and avoided that. But it's not like I was fat. It's just the U.S. military standard for overweight is completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh, I get it.
I agree with that.
The
Oh,
body
really? 'Cause
mass,
you're a woman.
they go by body mass index, which is a flawed analytic, really.
Well,
You
yeah, it
can't-
does seem to throw everyone onto a single curve, but of course we already know there are several body types which have different and everyone's got different bone masses and different fat to muscle ratios, and of course your muscles are made of two kinds of muscles, so you've got different ratios of that. It is all a bit pigeonholing everyone onto one stripe. I'm not totally convinced by it myself.
The flaw in it is that it relies on your neck thickness, which is not an indicator of your weight. I'm sorry. That, like, my neck, for instance, according to them, I should have been like 250 pounds just on my neck size. I'm like, well, I'm not. So what are we going to do about this?
Of course, we all know about a chap who's got a particularly big neck as well. And
Is that image in here?
right? I don't know. I wish it was.
Sadly, no.
Oh, he's so good.
Well, has anyone got...
I
Yeah,
have
go
one
ahead.
comment about this.
Sure.
It says ancient Greek meal.
Right.
I think this is not ancient. It looks like it was prepared shortly before the photograph was taken.
Is that baklava? Is that baklava? They don't have baklava in ancient Greece.
I mean, you're right, of course, but there are recipe books from thousands of years ago, right? Because I know that we know what foods ancient Romans cooked. We used to have this television program called Local Heroes with a chap called Adam Hart Davis on it. He'd ride around the country on his little pink and yellow bicycle, sort of finding out about these things. And he had an episode about Romans where he ate entirely Roman food, and it was things like tuna and honey in vine leaves served with yogurt and things like that. I mean, it is possible to eat a diet that these people did, but all you're really doing is restricting yourself to local seasonal foods, really. That's all it comes down to, isn't it? Oh, I will eat a diet that was only attainable to a Mediterranean goat herd in 1575 BC. Well, that's fine. Yeah, they probably were thin, but then they ate a handful of food every day and had to spend quite a lot of time walking and carrying food. It's all faddy. The truth to a good diet really is not too many calories, plenty of exercise, avoid the trans fats, really, not too much salt and sugar. It doesn't need that you eat like a sumo wrestler from 15th century feudal China. It just means watch the calorie intake.
I think a lot of people misinterpret dieting completely. So there's that too.
No, I'm sort of with you. All right, well, look, shall we move on to the next picture then before I talk us to death about ancient Greek meals?
Why not? Anthony, you good?
Absolutely.
Everybody good?
Good.
All right.
Let's do it.
Next image. Illuminati.
Yep.
Dum, dum, dum. I see it. My God.
What is
They're
it?
everywhere amongst us.
It's everywhere.
I mean, I see a flagpole inside a triangle, right? That's the Mason symbol, supposedly, is it? Or the Illuminati triangle? What's the angle?
It's well, I just searched for a triangular park or something like that. It's a geographical area. It's a triangle. It also does look a bit like the Mason sort of symbol. That wasn't super intended, but
There's
Fair
a
enough.
bunch of other triangles within the triangle.
yeah, just triangular symbology, that kind of Bermuda Triangle, weird things like that, where people put a lot of meaning into random shapes.
Too much.
See, I hadn't
meaning.
really thought about it, but yeah, there's things like sacred geometry, for instance, which is one of these things where people basically draw squares and circles in particular repetitive patterns, and somehow seem to ascribe valuable meaning to it. I don't know if anyone's ever seen Spirit Science.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I've never watched it really. I've seen debunking of it and stuff. But people making fun of it.
yeah,
I've
it is
never
much
seen it.
easier to deal with. Have you not?
Mm.
Mortimer and Cool Hard Science both dealt with him. He was just sort of this, it was mainly New Age stuff, basically, where he was talking about the energy within certain shapes and the healing powers of crystals.
Oh,
Very
boy.
patronizing, entirely unscientific. And he's one of those ones who'd misappropriate sort of words from quantum physics to try and make his work sound more impressive, or completely misread an article to the extent where he got about 3 words right, but out of it draw a conclusion that all science was wrong. I mean, really breathtaking stupidity. I don't know much about shape symbology, though, Port Punky. I mean, can you tell us a little bit about the sort of stuff you know about it?
Well, there's the Bermuda Triangle, obviously, but it's always triangles, squares, pentagrams. A lot of geographical, I should say, features are not in shapes like that. That's not how things work.
Sure.
I don't know.
Suppose...
I don't really have like a list of things here.
Hard.
It's just I always have this vague feeling when they mention, oh, it's the sacred square of something. It's like, okay, it's just a square. Then.
It's a square.
Nice and simple. It's not like
a shape.
27-dimensional something weird or anything. It's just a square, nice and easy.
Yeah, you're right. I wonder what it is about simple geometric shapes that seem to attract that sort of stuff. I mean, people talk about the 7 circles of hell, for instance, right? That's something that comes up. These simple, basic ideas. And why is the triangle associated with the Illuminati so much? Why does that even matter? Why does a pentagram matter? It's a bit like a certain someone we know who sees a lot of sort of power and pattern in the number 33.
Yeah, he's got 33 bumps on his head.
Or from each
There
time
is-
he was dropped the child.
There is
Sorry.
the one shape that nature really, really likes is spheres.
Mm-hmm.
Spheres pop
Yeah.
up everywhere. They're good.
Absolutely.
Everything else is weird and complicated shapes. I saw a really good article a while back on the shape of skin cells,
Yeah.
and it's actually quite a weird shape because it's like a hexagon that's extruded into a pentagon or something like that.
I say.
And it has all these weird mathematical properties, and that makes it a really good shape for cells that can sort of grow and rebuild parts of your body when you get stabbed or whatever.
Nice.
I've been stabbed.
I say.
Right now.
Hey,
call
Punchy's
an
asking for
ambulance?
slow mode. Punchy's asking for slow mode in the chat.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, he's absolutely right. I'm so sorry, Punchy. We're letting you get lost in there. You drowned.
Let me get Anthony Bailey modded.
Hexagons are something that pop up quite frequently in nature, and spirals, although I'm not sure quite how that counts as a shape. I know squares are considered quite rare, but if you get down to a small enough level where you're talking about linked atoms, you do get these sort of basic geometric shapes form, and so crystals and cells and things that are, on a very small scale can follow them. But really, beyond that sort of basic pattern, there are no real straight lines in nature anyway. So proper polygonal shapes are more or less a concept. They're non-existent. Maybe that's the source of where we put power into them. They're this man-made idea.
Gotcha. 1 second, I'm making an adjustment to the scene. I'm adding our to the slideshow captions.
There we go. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's probably not a bad idea.
There is some sort of power that geometry has over people. I mean, humans are built to recognize patterns in things,
Oh, this is true.
and stuff like a Giant's Causeway.
Yeah.
It's just difficult to look at it and think it's natural.
I
All
suppose-
the hexagonal rocks stretched out. I mean, it is, but it just feels like it's engineered or something. It just I know it's not. I'm not saying that I'm falling into that kind of way of thinking.
Yeah.
But
I
at
know
a
what
glance,
you mean.
it just doesn't look like a natural formation because it's so regular.
Indeed. Oh no, I totally understand it. And the fact they call it, I forgot what it is, the Devil's Causeway. I mean, it very much does look like someone put them down. It resembles something man-made. The
I think you've
watchmaker
mixed-
argument.
Oh, it's Giant's Causeway, and in America there's a similar one called Devil's Postpile.
Oh yeah, I've mixed up the names, haven't I?
You've combined them. That's efficient.
Okay.
We're all about efficiency, ongoing
The thing
critical.
is, that same pattern, though, you know the chap who thinks that these volcanic, like, you have these mountains which are volcanic in nature, and they're sort of made up of hexagons, where the magma that was forced up at pressure into the surrounding rock remained, where the rest of the rock eroded away over time. And so he says, "Oh no, this is the stump of a tree, a giant tree that was cut down, and you can tell by the cell structure shape in it." And actually, like, no, that's just volcanism. Essentially, we can show that demonstrated in other features.
Isn't that what's his face? Oh man, we covered him on the chills. But what's the main guy? The one we
Barnabas Nagy.
Barnabas Nagy. Yeah, he was
Is that
saying
one of
he was on that bullshit too. I don't know if he went into the cellular shape like you were just talking about, but he's one of those look at the stumps people.
Oh yeah. Dear oh dear. I mean, he seems to have got all of his, like, literally every single one of his conspiracies out of a selection of Victorian science fiction novels called Amazing Tales. There's like a half a dozen or more of them, and literally every conspiracy that he's sort of made public is from one of those books. Everything from aliens causing the Chicago fire, the Tartarians, the mud flood, like, it's all in there. It surprises me that no one's noticed this and pointed it out in any great detail yet, because he even went to the extent of showing one of the books on one of his videos and reading through it and sort of going, yeah, but I mean, they're telling you it's a story to disguise the fact that this was real life and actually happened. I mean, imagine if I got Harry Potter out and started doing this and go, oh, this did happen though. I mean, they're telling you it's a story, but it is real. I mean, you'd think rightly that I was insane. You'd probably want some help for me, right?
I'd want to know where you get your weed.
Yes, absolutely. Look, enough triangles and sacred shapes. Should we see what the next image is?
Absolutely.
Good Lord.
I'm not saying it was aliens.
Show me this. This is real. This is real. Like, for years we've been waiting for the evidence we need. A non-blurry photo, full figure. We can see its face. We can see its technology in its hand. Oh no!
I'm
wait.
totally terrified.
Yeah,
Suddenly.
this is real footage of an alien abduction.
I have a suspicion though, judging by the shoes, that those are knockoffs.
Oh, do you think they're not the real deal?
Yeah, he
No,
got those shoes secondhand, man.
It was a glitch in the
cool.
replicator.
Oh, okay.
Wait, 1, 2.
What fun!
Does this guy have 6 fingers on his left hand? It's very
Yes, it
alien.
does.
That is
Very
alien.
nice. That's
one
a
of them
very.
a thumb.
I don't see a
I'll give him
thumb.
that.
He's got 6
That is a
fingers.
He really does.
Great
That's actually quite a
observation.
nice little addition to his costume. I'm quite impressed at that.
I think the top one might be the thumb. He's just got his sleeves rolled up over his gloves, probably to keep out the dangerous nitrogen atmosphere.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah,
and
indeed.
to keep water off of his skin, because if you've seen
Signs.
Signs,
Signs,
yeah.
Yeah. One of
you
the
don't want
worst
Joaquin
M. Night
Phoenix coming through
Shyamalan
with a
movies.
baseball bat.
Yeah, I remember. Oh, what fun! Look, alien. Right, so alien abductions, because there's a couple of little angles on this one. The first one would be essentially very drunk people. Another one would be sleep paralysis. That seems to be quite a sort of a big one when it figures. Is that people who undergo, it's called sleep apnea or sleep paralysis, they sort of experience presences in the room. It's an odd half awake, half dreamlike sleep where you sort of, your brain wakes up but your body's still asleep and you're not quite fully conscious of things. As far as I can tell, there's never ever been any reliable evidence of a genuine alien abduction, and all the stories you've heard so far seem to fall into the same rather unfortunate category of, you know, either drunk man falls into a field at night and has some weird fever dream, or person suffering from sleep apnea doesn't really know what it is and is convinced they've been into an alien spaceship. Does anyone have any thoughts?
I agree completely. It's the stories are either completely obvious fabrications or they are amalgamations of real medical experience that these people have had. So it's hard to really discern who is just flat out delusional and who has a serious issue. But either way, like you said, there is no evidence to support what they are claiming has happened to them, while
Dude,
they're
that-
quick to look over everything that is suggestive to what is actually happening to them.
Indeed. Well, Anthony Bailey, what do you think about the idea of alien abductions? Have UFOs visited the planet and taken people into their spaceships?
In a word, no.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what do you think about the idea of aliens even bothering? I mean, can you conceive of a reason they might fly across millions and billions and trillions of miles of open space to, you know, hijack a few rednecks and turn some cows inside out? What would be the point? Do you have a view?
Well, why would they do that now? If they came around and built pyramids, why would they mess around with abducting people now?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
It
why
sounds
would they?
kind of retroactive to me. I mean, they'd already know what we are.
I
Or
mean,
if-
alien abductions, do they fall into the same sort of folk category as things like werewolves and vampires, or is this a different phenomenon? Is this just like another kind of boogeyman, or is it supposed to be around something else? Is it more conspiratorial?
The werewolves and all that stuff, those come from tales of like real adaptations. I can't think of what the word is. Maybe somebody can help me. Lore, if you will, like. But aliens is just a pipe dream, you know. It's something that we, as curious beings, want to happen. We want there to be aliens. Like, I don't. That's the difference to me. Is like werewolves and things like that have come from stories that have been told for a long, long time, whereas aliens is just a
It was something existed sort of separate for that, but that was able to become these things. Because I see what you mean. Because obviously we do use aliens as sort of bad guys and villains in our fiction, and they've been around for a long time. But they existed abstract of that anyway as a concept. Like ever since we've been able to conceive of the idea of other planets, basically, we've wondered if there are other beings on those other planets.
exactly.
I reckon I could take a pretty safe bet that there's no one in this room who doesn't think that aliens probably exist out there. Anyone care to correct me on that? 1 minute debunk. What about you? Aliens, do they exist?
So I'm glad you brought this up because I would like to, in a future episode, discuss things like where are all the aliens?
The Fermi paradox.
What's the great filter that's making
Indeed.
the galaxy appear very empty, and what would it appear like if it were empty or not empty, and how can we figure these things out? Because there's a hell of a lot of depth there.
Indeed.
That could be a whole series, actually.
Oh yeah. That's a rich vein, which could be mined. For aliens, well, the universe is really, really, really big. It's like silly big. So there's either going to be
but how big is it,
tons of aliens,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
none at all.
I feel like
I mean-
they're. Go ahead.
Like, well,
No, please
It
go
could
ahead.
be
Sorry,
that
you're
Earth-
dead air with me. Go ahead.
it could be that Earth is a fluke upon a fluke, and none of this was ever really supposed to happen in any sense, and now we're here, and that's weird. Or, more likely, I would say, there's probably dudes kicking about here and there.
Yeah.
I think statistically speaking, it is if the universe is close to what we perceive it as now. I know we have an incomplete picture, and we probably always will be, because like the 1 minute debunk said, there's just way too much out there for one civilization to conquer that, even intellectually. But statistically
indeed.
speaking, now I don't know if we're talking about aliens like us, but I would bet my life that there is other forms of biological life, whether intelligent or not, in the universe aside from us. I mean, we found water vapor on another planet.
Mm-hmm.
We've
Yep.
found microorganisms existing in open space on rocks and our own equipment that we've brought back down. Like, how is this existing in the vacuum? It's alive. Bacteria mostly, but that is
Tardigrades as
We
well.
found the amino acids, the building blocks of life necessary, or not the amino acids, sorry, but the sort of the components of these things on asteroids.
precursors. Right.
Yeah, indeed. So, like, We're almost certain the precursors for life were from space and were brought here.
Yeah, that's a guarantee. And nothing
Yeah.
nothing is from here. Even here.
See,
is
for
not
me,
from
it's a matter of distance for me. See, I mean, if we assume space-time is flat, and that's what it seems to be, it might be slightly open actually because it's expanding faster and faster. But the point is, if we can assume that space-time goes on forever, then no matter how rare intelligent life like us is, there's an infinite amount of it, right? The question is more like how. The important question is how likely is life like us in any given area of space-time? Because if there's life, if there are like one or two other species like us in the galaxy, we might conceivably speak to them one day, even if it takes a long time to get the message to them. If it's more likely that there's only one species like us every 10 galaxies, the chances are we'll just never find out. If, on the other hand, life is really something that's really easy to get going one way or another, and even if intelligent life's a bit more rare, the universe is teeming with it, we'll probably find it. I tend to be of that view myself, that life's incredibly common, but there's the combination of circumstances necessary to bring a species like us into existence are so convoluted, fragile, and limited in time span that there probably are going to be thousands of species like us that just never exist side by side at the same amount of time and are just too far away. And not to mention that billions of years from now, the universe will be so stretched out that sitting on any given planet, the sky will be black. There'll be no stars. You will have no concept that there's anything else. Yeah, you'll have no concept there's anything out there in the universe to even see other than your planet and potentially star system that you're in. It's rather sad, really.
It's
sad.
Depressing, but that's the nature of all of it. It's all sad if you look at it in a macro. Life is not infinite. Nothing is, and even by our own prediction, even the universe itself will end at some point, and that's just it. You gotta enjoy it while you're here, and
yeah, we're here for a good time, not a long time, right?
that's it.
I will say that the silver lining is we're probably wrong about most things.
Many things, yes.
Yeah. Yep.
This whole universe deal,
we
we don't have a strong grasp on all of this stuff. We've got good data, and what we see fits our data, and we can understand that, but there's a lot of things that we really, really don't have a good idea of, like where almost everything is.
Yes. Well, yeah, quite. The nature of dark energy and dark matter, for instance. Like, we can, to a certain extent, map them and track their behavior, but we've got no idea what they really are. Just sort of a few ideas of what they might be, possibly, and ways to maybe test it. We think. We're not sure.
Yeah,
I mean, that's great.
That's like some 90, I forget what percentage it is, 92 or something percent of everything.
I think 95% of everything is either dark energy or matter.
Yeah, so 95% of everything is just a massive question mark.
Yeah, dark, quite. The dark means we know sod all about it, essentially. Great. Is it? We think. Well, actually, we've got some ideas. We suspect probably that dark matter is non-baryonic. We think probably that seems to. There you go. So that's close to an answer.
Yeah.
That's the best you can get out of me.
You
I'll
can
take it.
rule out things, but there's so many more possibilities that. So don't cry, Punchy, that the universe is gonna get very dull in a few billion years, because who knows? Maybe it'll be really, really different.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing about humans is the rate of technological evolution means that we've turned from, monkeys into people very, very, very quickly indeed. Sort of the last couple of 100 years have shown some enormous strides. We've almost augmented the fact that we haven't evolved physically very far with all of our technology and machinery. So the future, 1,000 years from now, could be overwhelmingly extraordinary. It could be that in the universe, when it is sort of too far apart to see anything, we're still harvesting the power of an entire sun and creating these wondrous things, Kardashev types of civilizations, or Boltzmann brains, or Actually, I don't know if Punchy's still watching, but you really should watch Isaac. Is he really?
Yeah.
He's a brave, amazing man. Fair play to you, mate. Watch Isaac Arthur.
Punchy.
futurist. You'll love him. He just
Isaac Arthur is a fucking genius. I love that.
Yeah,
Like
Right.
the time
I watch his stuff too.
the time that he and his team put into those episodes is unbelievable. He's got a whole team. He's got a whole team of people that do the illustrations for him, the research he does with people. I really like his
Nice.
channel. His channel was one of the first like science and like futurist channels that I got into, and I still watch him to this day. I love the guy. Strange guy,
Right.
but and his accent just
He does
He-
sound like, well, I don't want to say it really, but he's got the Elmer Fudd accent. But I mean, he's just amazing. I really love his work. He does a little bit. I'm hunting
too.
rabbits.
I do too. I
Right.
just don't see how one person can acquire so much knowledge and not only acquire it, but be able to apply it in even
Oh, it's
theoretical
astonishing,
senses is very impressive.
Now, look, I've just seen Tony's just reappeared in the game room. He's sort of jumping in and out of there, but I'm wondering if he's still in the room. Tony, you all right, mate? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Cool. So your connection's working. I see you've popped back into Buzzing Live. That's all right then. I was worried you were having connection problems. Yeah, it just looked like it. I wouldn't panic. 1 minute debunk. Have you got any sort of thoughts you'd like to add? Because I'm going to suggest changing to the next photo in a
Oh.
moment. Get some final thought.
I was just thinking, there's a channel I watch called John Michael Gauthier, who's also a
I
futurist.
watched that too. I watched that.
Yeah.
He's great. He also has a weird accent. I was just sitting there thinking, is this a futurist thing? Like if you speak in a fairly unique way, or you're gonna be a
Accent's the
futurist?
wrong word. He has a speech impediment.
Right.
Isaac Arthur has a speech impediment.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
fine. Yeah, John
Price
Michael
Punch
Gauthier just has a
told me
really
that
kind
he'll
of
still be alive in a couple of billion years. So that's great news for everybody. I'm really
Cool.
pleased to hear that.
let us
Excellent.
know how it turns out.
Sorry, carry on, mate. I've cut right across you there.
Oh, I was just going to talk about John Michael Gauthier's accent, but that's by the by. His channel's good. He's got lots of interesting kind of top tens and things. So,
John Michael
think about
Gaultier,
stuff.
right?
yeah,
He's a
I think-
science fiction
I'm
writer.
certain I've seen him, but I'll have to get
Yeah,
back
yeah.
and have a look.
I recognize the name.
he talks a
Excellent.
bit like this all the time.
Oh, cool. Nice. Well, I will now have to compare what you just did to his actual voice and find out if it was a good impression.
Here's an
Well,
idea.
it's a good thing this isn't going out live.
Here's the thing.
Yeah,
we
thank
can
God.
swap our links, one for
Yeah.
Isaac Arthur and one for John Michael Gauthier, and we can report back on who has the stranger delivery.
Yes, that's a good idea.
Links
Although
in
I'm sure
description.
that'll be- Yeah.
They're not really.
Brilliant.
Sorry, Punchy.
It will be.
Right. Let's move on to the next photo. Let's see what we got. We're 3 through now, aren't we? Got a couple left.
This is the fourth
There's
one. We have
one
one
more.
left. We have one left.
Oh, one left. Blimey, here we go.
1 minute debunk. Okay.
So,
This guy actually looks like he is making a cut in football, but I'm pretty sure he's actually in actuality busting his ass in the process of it.
I
It's-
legit searched for a abominable snowman or something. So it's a rare sighting of a yeti.
Yeah.
On its way to work, I guess.
I suppose so, yeah. I mean, look, they wear rudimentary clothes and animal skins on their feet and backs. That's amazing. And he's sort of put some kind of fur hat for himself. This is. I mean, it's still a bit blurry and a bit long distance, and I'm not convinced we're looking at a real photo. But you know, I think this is a pretty good idea of what most people think, right? That's a yeti.
Yeah,
You don't see
doesn't
the
doesn't look like a man in a suit.
No, not at all. So the abominable snowman, then, yeah, right. This is. I'm so glad that you put this one in because this is my secret guilty pleasure, which is that. So I don't believe. It's not like I think the abominable snowman or yeti does exist. It's
No.
just that so far, I am unconvinced that it doesn't exist.
Ooh.
There's enough gap in our knowledge and potential that I think that something along those lines is plausible in its existence, right? It took us 85 years to find the panda. We were told the panda exists and we thought, no, that's clearly nonsense. And we spent a long time looking and it never showed up. So we're like, yeah, this is a story. And then lo and behold, oh my God, the giant panda, a bamboo eating bear. Extraordinary. And it was all about remoteness and the fact that it was in an area we still hadn't really done anything with. A lot of these sightings for Bigfoot are in places that are not commonly like got men in them, but you know, villages in like Mongolian steppes, and it's always high altitude and things like that. Now, how that relates to Bigfoot and Sasquatch, which would seem to be a bit more unlikely because of their, you know, proximity to human populations, I don't know. But I guess what I think is that it's perfectly possible that one of the hominids that lived alongside man 50 to 100,000 years ago, that was sort of, you know, evolving alongside us, things like Neanderthal and yeah, exactly. I can't remember all the different names, but there are about 14 different kinds of humans that all lived, you know, coevals of one another, and we were what ultimately resulted. But I don't see why something like a Bigfoot and a Sasquatch couldn't be one of those human-like hominid species that continue to exist in remote enough places that we just haven't quite found yet.
Punchy says it looks like the guy's skating to him, and actually, you know what? That's exactly what it looks like.
Do you think?
Yeah,
It
he's
looks
sliding
exactly
along.
like it, yeah.
You can
But-
see behind him there's a strip of snow with a bunch of stuff at the end where someone else has been slipping, I guess.
But I'm looking at his face. That is a surprise. Like, I think the dude is busting in the middle of falling on his face.
I know
in terms of
he does look like he's going.
in terms of Bigfoot and Sasquatch, Yetis, or cryptids in general, it's hard to imagine that certain cryptids could exist in the modern world when everything is so well mapped out. But there are still remote places on Earth. Certainly, the oceans are basically unmapped.
Oh yeah.
Large amounts. I don't know if you've ever watched Nautilus live or any of these deep sea
I have.
probes.
Mhm.
They just
Yeah.
see things every now and again. They're like, well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
They can't really categorize everything. I mean, they're very good,
Oh, right.
but there's a lot of weird stuff in the oceans. And there's things like the thylacine, the Tasmanian tiger, which has been extinct for 80-something years. Apart from all the times it's been maybe sighted, which
Not quite.
it probably hasn't. But it's not impossible that it could have been. So it's interesting.
I think that's my position on the Bigfoot, by the way, is that I'm not, like I say, I'm unconvinced so far that it definitely doesn't exist. That's probably as far as I'll go. But like, I still see enough room, just about barely, for something along those lines to maybe exist. I think most of your sightings tend to be false, but there have always been one or two little things here and there that I thought, well, it is just about plausible that a large ape-like creature could exist that no one's actually seen beyond at a very great distance in the wilderness. It's, you know, it's happened before. It could happen again. Maybe.
Absolutely.
All right.
It's not impossible. If someone came up to me tomorrow and said, hey, we actually checked literally everywhere on Earth and there's no Bigfoot, I would not be surprised.
Yes. Yeah, I'm sort of there. Yeah, I know what you mean. 95% certain, but I still hold out hope that one day, something like that. You never know.
That would be cool. That would be so
It
awesome.
would. Right, well, unless anyone else wants to add anything to the pile, Tony, what do you reckon? Have you got any thoughts on Bigfoot or Sasquatch? Have you ever seen one?
A little bit. I mean, I agree with you a little bit, but then on the other side, I'm thinking, in order for something like that to survive, it has to have partners. I mean, okay, we're still finding remote tribes and stuff, but I don't know.
I know what you mean. There's no lone individuals. There are only ever populations, and
Yeah.
it makes it much more unlikely you wouldn't have found a population than just a single individual. I think I get you there, definitely.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, for something to survive, it has to be able to breed.
Yeah, and successfully, it's got to have a big enough gene pool as well, right?
Right.
It's not just good enough that there's a female around. There have to be a selection.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. Well, look, that was our last photo, I think, wasn't it? Now, I could do what I usually do, which is just do a quick round once around the table, see if anyone's got anything that they wanted to point out, anyone that they'd like to shill for, stuff like that. Let's start with Robert Leger again, like we did at the beginning. Have you got any streams coming out you want to tell people about, or other content creators you want to point people to?
As far as content creators, yeah, I really think Adafe, who is actually the Cicada Replies. We talked about him on the shows once.
Yeah, sure.
Southern Hemisphere Globehead.
Absolutely.
There's a couple of new ones that I'm excited for. They haven't really put out a lot of content yet, but what I've seen is pretty good. As for me, I just game whenever I have free time, and I just hop on mainly to just, if anybody wants to stop by and chat, great. But that's all I have going on, really.
Oh, that's cool. And yeah, Punchy, if you're ever looking to sort of kill a bit of time and you see one of Robert Leger's game stream comes up, I can recommend you could pop in there, man. It's good fun. We have a bit of a chat. What about you, Tony? You got any, I always get the name wrong, Stonehard Bread videos coming out soon?
Perfect.
Like I said, I've got one. I've started like 4 times already, but the sound is always screwed up. So.
Oh no.
I can help you with the sound and stuff, though, Anthony, whenever you're ready.
Well, that has to do with recording on C.
Okay, fair enough. Well, look, we can all sort of club together club together a bit and help you out in that regard. We've got the, our special secret underground base of our very own now, so you can always ask in there and we can work something out. 1 minute debunk. Now, I know you're going to have some 1 minute debunks coming out soon. Perhaps you could give us a sneak peek of a couple of subjects you'll be looking at soon.
Oh, I can't remember what I recorded. Something about the moon, the moon being the right size, and might look at relative density disequilibrium for a bit of clicks and views. In terms of other creators, there's a guy called Bubble Burster who's got some fun videos. It's a bit of a laugh. I want to see him get into the triple digits of subs. I just subbed to what was it? Christine Flat Romance. I don't know if you saw Dead Canadian Spaces.
I did. That was brilliant.
That was bizarre. That was
wasn't it?
Yeah, it was good.
Absolutely, it completely threw me. Like, because I saw the tweet. He'd obviously seen the start of the video, and I saw him put the tweet out, and I thought, oh, here we go. That was a mistake on her part. And yeah, absolutely blew me away. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah, that was really good.
Punchy says she's funny and cute too.
Oh, Punchy.
Oh, excellent. Punchy, I say. You dark horse, you. Well, look, thank you very much indeed. I mean, I suppose on my part, I do interviews and the cat does the debunks. There will be stuff coming out at some point in the future, but I'll be concentrating on this channel just for the short term while we get things up and running. And of course, we'll be coming out with more episodes. So, Punchy, you have seen the pilot episode, the secret first, you are the only audience red carpet special. We hope you enjoyed the show. I think it only leaves for all of us to say goodbye. Thank you for coming. What's my sign-off line? Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, wherever you are, Punchy, and we'll see you next time. Take it steady and good night.
See you, Punchy.
Good night.